Let's go. That's what Pete just said to me, and I agree with him. The rivals here on a breath of fresh footy are ready to go. Wonderful always to have Pete from At the Net. Make sure you subscribe to his page. You know, he's pumping. Man United had a good win, and I'm Matty from a breath of fresh footy, and I saw a reasonable game of City Man City playing. But again, we can talk about the penalty and the miss, and then also the insipid performance of Arsenal, which I thought warning signs were already there from the Leicester game, and we'll delve further into some more information. But Pete, lovely to see you, looking as fit as a fiddle, and
Oh,
yeah, you must be so wrapped with the United game.
yeah, look, it was a great game. Bruno Fernandes was actually on fire for that game. Uh, it was worthy of man of the match performance. And the great thing, what I loved about it, they all played well. However, I'll tell you what, poor Pogba, mate. I think the quicker they get rid of him, the better.
Yep.
That's my honest opinion there. But look, other than that, Bruno Fernandes had a cracker. I just thought United, they were on song defensively. They did all right. That first goal that went in from Everton, um, a little bit of defensive lax, but it was just like it went through Wan-Bissaka's legs.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
only one that will probably ever will.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, exactly. But this is
But other than that,
yeah, but as we're saying, this
yeah,
game really highlights what we're talking about this season, right? And we knew that when teams were
mm,
going well, like Everton, when injuries hit, which was inevitable that was going to happen, how would the depth of squad work? And you've been saying this the whole year. I've agreed with you,
yeah.
and it just really proves a point, doesn't it, Pete?
Oh, look, it does prove a point. I mean, but don't forget, I mean, for Everton, Rodriguez was actually back playing. Now, this is the other thing as well. You know, don't forget, prior to his getting his injury, obviously in the manhood area, thank you very much. Once you do come back from any injury, it's a real hard one. You're not going to be back at that peak form where you were when you went off.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Liverpool in match week 8. Alexander Arnold, he's out for a little bit, but there's some very interesting things going on out there. Yeah, but depth of squad, absolutely. It's just going to be massive. It's going to
Yeah.
be massive. But I think, especially after match week 8, so Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp really backed up Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well in having the 5 substitutes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty sure that the EPLs have actually agreed to it. I'm not
I,
sure.
I think so too. And Arteta's was right on it with Sky Sports saying that he wanted the 5 substitute because he's just worried that all the teams are going to get super injured because of the schedule, the fixture schedule being so compressed. They really needed to have that 5 on the substitute bench
Yeah.
rotate so that all the good players wouldn't get injured. And of course, I totally can see why Klopp is saying this. I mean, look at his backline; it's completely decimated. And
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at United from the Everton game. Rashford's gone, Shaw's gone. So all of a sudden, yeah, any of the European clubs, they're going to keep losing players.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. What happens? Aston Villa wins.
I don't know. Well, this is the thing. Aston Villa, they're doing great at the moment. They
Yeah,
absolutely bossed us. We had no chance in that game. The Arsenal was just absolutely shat on by, we were absolutely shat on by Villa. They totally deserved that win. But this is what I want to bring the next point that I want to talk about. You said before we went online that United actually do reasonably well when they're away from home. Arsenal
yeah.
is following in your footsteps at the moment. We haven't won a game at home for yonks. In the last 3 or 4 games, we've really found it hard to win at home. Do you think it's because of the way that we're set up, in particular with a sort of 3-4-3 formation, that's perfect for counter-attacking football? It doesn't mean it's going to
Uh,
work when we're at home.
yeah. Look, I'll say no to that because what I think it is, it's a fact. There's no fans in the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely no fans in the stadium. Um, just think about it. Whether you're playing at the Emirates, we're playing at Old Trafford, then all of a sudden you're behind. The fans really get stuck into you and they lift you.
Yeah.
As well. Now, I actually watched some highlights from another game last week without any crowd noise whatsoever, and I tell you what, it's horrific, absolutely horrific.
Dead.
Yeah, when all you hear is a bunch of guys, hey, Shedway, and all different languages, and you're thinking, holy shit, what the hell? And for them, I'm sure it would be hard for them.
Yeah,
I'm sure it would be. So, yeah, it's a tough one. But yeah, I think to go to the home games. I mean, Man U's playing West Brom this weekend. Sorry, not this weekend, the following weekend because of the international break.
Mm.
But, I mean, like prior to that, it's been 48 years since Man U's had such a bad start to the EPL, but especially at home.
Yeah.
I tell you what, they don't want to come back after the international break and lose to West Brom. That will not be very nice at all.
Well, that's the thing with West Brom. Like, sure, they haven't won a game, but they've drawn a few. I thought their performance against Chelsea was really standout. I thought they did a great job scoring 3 against that Chelsea team, who are starting to hit their stride. It's fascinating. I've been talking to people on Instagram, and there's been comments sort of about the trades and stuff that we're talking about. And I wrote on this comment saying that I don't think, in particular, really any of the big 6 teams, minus Spurs, but I don't know if they're sort of big 6, really would be particularly happy with how they've started this season. I mean, all these Chelsea fans are like going, wow, we're in 5th spot at the moment, we're doing great. It's like, well, with the amount that you've spent with the squad, you've already lost a game,
a couple
of games that you haven't. I don't think any of the top big 6 teams are particularly happy with the way that they've started this season. I mean, you would expect 1 or 2 of them to have not lost a game, but every single team has lost a game.
Look, absolutely. And I just think it's a testament. And I think you look at last season, going through COVID, everything changed. Shorter break coming into this season, the players don't really get that rest. Yeah. So all of a sudden, it throws a much level playing field out there for all the teams. Yeah. Now, then all of a sudden, they've been thrown into European football as well. So don't expect the big teams to actually come out and keep winning and winning and winning. It's not going to happen. No. It's just not going to happen because players will be tired. And I just think, for example, you see it all the time. You just see it all the time. So, yeah, look, toss a coin at the moment. Look, I mentioned at the net during the week that Southampton. Now, there's a team that's absolutely crushing it. Southampton are as well.
Brilliant.
But they showed they can actually do it without Danny Ings, which is absolutely outstanding. So, a team like Southampton, look, who knows? By the end of the season, I reckon you'll find one of the big ones would have won it. But I think you'll find a couple of, like, whether it be Aston Villa, Southampton, they will be in the top, maybe the top 6.
But it's fascinating this season because I still think Everton will be pretty reasonable, even though they've had a few bad weeks, I still think they'll be great. But it just shows you when these breaks come in, it does alter the momentum a lot. So the beauty about a break like this, an international break, is that you even though some of the players are playing internationally, they're away from that squad. So then it's sort of like a fresh start again,
Yeah.
And given the fact I feel this year in particular, compared to most seasons where every team's lost a game, I mean, nobody really feels out of it. Even if United's in 14th spot or 13th spot, they're not going to feel out of it because every team's lost. And, a Liverpool team who have no defence are ahead of them, and they've been battered 7-2. I mean, There's hope for everybody, isn't there? There's one. Very interesting,
Look, I think we're going to see it. I personally, my own opinion is I think the team to really watch for the rest of this season will be Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we made this comment. They spent over 230 million pound,
Yeah.
and the thing is, spending that kind of money, they're starting to now gel together.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see them really start to take off, and they already are. They already are.
Well,
I don't.
aren't they 11 games undefeated at the moment, from what
Yeah,
I've heard?
yeah. And then you start to look at it and just go, the last few games, they're winning, whether it be 4-1, 4-0, or whatever. So it's not like Timo Werner's come into the lineup and he's just playing a magnificent game.
Yeah.
That's what you want when you bring somebody in.
Yeah.
When I look at United, I mean, Donny van der Beek, yeah, he's just not playing. And why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hasn't got him out there starting every single game is beyond me. You look at the games where they've really played well. They've had Fernandes, Marta, who start the game together. Donny van der Beek in there. I don't think Solskjaer's actually seen the structure well enough, because then all of a sudden he will have Pogba in there, Maguire down back. I just think the game's changing again. The game's becoming. It's probably becoming quicker again.
Yeah.
It's becoming quicker again. I think it's been really interesting watching it when there's no crowds there. You can actually, and you just listen to the actual players and the way they actually shove each other off.
Yeah.
Especially, in the goal line and stuff. It's really fascinating to watch. But I just think, look, moving forward, it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I think so too. And what I'm finding really interesting this season is that, generally when I've watched these leagues and the way that Europe feeds into things, games like what Arsenal would play against Villa, normally you could get away in the earlier days of just cruising through the 1-0, and then just getting that result. And that's what I felt happened in our game. The players thought that they could cruise 1-0. They thought they could always be forward, do what they did at United. But this is a completely different beast this year, because at least with, when I see our teams versing other big teams, they have a chance because they're tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're coming across a really fresh Villa team, who I think have one of the best strikers and the best goalkeeper in the league, and they're on fire, it's going to be hard to penetrate them. We had no chances in that game, in my opinion. We were completely destroyed. And it's because they were tired. Even though we rotated the squad so much. I just feel that, our two teams, I feel this year could struggle in that department quite a fair bit until this period of, games that have been just pushed and smashed together, so...
big time.
I really do. And that's a testament, I feel. I don't know what you think about this, but that's why I think it's a testament to see what Liverpool's done. Considering their injuries are so horrific at the moment, they're just getting results. That's why they're in the top three,
Yeah. Oh, look, absolutely. I mean, the way Jota's playing at the moment is absolutely sensational. Once again, one of these players who's just come into the side and he's just really giving it to them. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting game between Leeds United and Arsenal this week on the 23rd. It's going to be absolutely fascinating because, Leeds, they've been in a bit of a down slump over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Last few weeks, I know Bielsa's really, he's not happy about that. Arsenal's form. That's going to be a really fascinating game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we do. I mean, look, if we turn up and do how we played against United, I think we have a chance. But if we turn up and we don't show any sort of fight, which is what Mikel was particularly upset about, then I think we're in a lot of trouble. Because the one thing that I know Leeds will do is with the Bielsa team, they'll go in hard. They'll try and break. They'll try and find the gaps. And I think, we're quite reasonably set up. But you need to have that sort of... I think what we really lack, and this is where I think United still is better than us, is that we don't have a Fernandes in the team who's creative. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a huge difference because one player like that, your team's not playing great, but you have one player who opens up the field, is creative, can just tap
That's
a
right.
pass, do something instinctively. That's where you beat these teams.
Yeah.
That's where you
And
beat your Evertons. That's
look,
a player.
yeah, look, absolutely. Um, just watching the Manchester United team over the last few weeks, um, and it really goes to show that when Fernandez is on, he's on.
Yeah.
When he's on, there's not a lot of people that can stop him.
No.
You know, and I start to look at that, and it's just like this is where they need to get consistency. Consistency is going to be the key.
Yeah.
But this is where it comes down to the managers. And you know what? I don't think whether it be Arsenal, Man U, um, Chelsea, because they spend a lot of money. So I'm going to leave Frank Lampard out of this one for the moment. But a lot of the younger managers out there I think they're going to struggle.
Yep.
And the reason being is they will struggle is because they're going to have some very tired players, and they need to substitute at the perfect time. They need to be that ultimate tactician, substitute at the perfect time, give that player that break.
Yeah.
I know every soccer player wants to play every game.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you can't, because when you are absolutely knackered, you know that you may lose 3 points. That may stop you from going to the Champions League next season.
Yeah.
So, we start to look at this, it becomes fascinating.
Yeah, well, I think teams like Liverpool, Chelsea, even City, to an extent, because they're still right in it, are licking their lips because they haven't had a great start, but they haven't been punished for it. Do you know what I mean? And they can come back in. The beauty, I think, with City in particular, why I think they could be very dangerous, is that even though I think De Bruyne had a poor game against Liverpool, he's still an incredible creator of chances. Any team with a creator, it's so important. And I think that's where Liverpool have smashed it with Jota. I think he's a fantastic forward, but he's also very creative with the way that he fits himself, tactically moves around, places himself on the field. I think all of it is very instinctive.
I mean, just on that De Bruyne though, the fascinating thing about it, and that penalty miss was so significant. I'm interested to see how he picks himself up after that.
Yeah. But I've mentioned, I was speaking to a couple of people about this, who are EPL. When they see these tops that I wear and stuff, they always come up and ask me about stuff. And I said to them in particular, I said, if you're going to miss a penalty, get it out of the way in the early season. Get it out of your system. Because I feel somebody like him, because he's so technically good, that lapse of concentration, you'd rather it happen at the beginning of the season, so that when now the rest of the season you go, okay, I can't afford to do this. I just got to bury it. It can work that way, or it could be the opposite way, where it completely cripples your confidence.
Look, and that's the thing, and that's, as I said, that comes back down to how's he going to come out now. Don't forget, he's going into a 2 week, well, not a 2 week break really, because he's playing international.
Yeah.
But then he comes back. So look, it shouldn't be too bad for him. But yeah, look, I mean, I think the games coming up are just going to be fascinating. Once again, there's some cracking games coming up in a fortnight's time.
The main game for me is actually seeing Spurs and
yeah.
So for me, this game will show me, in particular, if Spurs again are a bunch of pretenders or they're the real deal. Because if they're the real deal, they should be at least matching it with this Man City team, because they haven't clicked this year yet. This is the biggest chance they have to actually get some points off them. And it's also a Spurs home game, so they want something to prove at home, that they can win things at home, because they've had a couple of shock losses over this season so far at home. They want to prove a point. So they need to show up against this City team that haven't been at their best at all, but are still in it. That's the thing, That's why I think this City team's licking their lips. It's like, we've played terribly, but we're not. We've got a game in hand. We'll win another couple of games. We're up in the top 4.
Oh, look, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, look, it's gonna be fascinating. I think Spurs, Jose Mourinho, he wants it.
Yeah,
He just wants it. And I just think now Gareth Bale's there as well. I think they'll come close to it. Look, to be honest, I would not be surprised if we see Chelsea. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Chelsea at the top of the table at the end of the year.
yeah.
And
Could
I
be
would,
could be very interesting. I mean, I'm still going to back them with third at the moment, but to me, you know how we were having this discussion about the January transfer, right? I
yeah,
think now, given certain injuries have happened in Liverpool in particular, and a couple of bad losses for Arsenal, I do see that there might be some stuff happening in that transfer market because I see Liverpool. They need to strengthen that defense. And if Van Dijk and Gomez now out for the whole season, which is what sort of has been said on these big sports channels overseas, they're going to need to strengthen somehow in that area. You know.
oh look, absolutely, I completely agree on that point. Um, yeah, oh look, and gee whiz, toss. You can really sit back, toss a coin on so much at the moment.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at this weekend. Wolves are up against Southampton.
that's a
Uh,
big game.
yeah, of course, it's a massive game. Southampton win this. Gee whiz, I tell you what, then all of a sudden they keep on climbing.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so it's just, this is where you just starting. It's quite exciting when you see the top six, and there's only a few points. There's only one game really.
yeah, 1.5
Yeah,
max. You know. Yeah,
but when you think about it, that you've got Aston Villa, Southampton in there, Leicester City on top, Tottenham. So over the last few years, the teams that have always been up there, like Liverpool and Chelsea, have always just hovered in around about that fifth, sixth spot or
yeah,
whatever, and they're the only two. Everybody else, and then you come down from six down. Then you got Everton, Crystal Palace, Wolves. 10th is Man City.
yeah.
11th being Arsenal. Man United sitting down there in bloody 14th. And it's just like, oh my God.
But when you see the points difference, it's so minimal at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
But this is where I think the top six or the big six clubs must be licking their lips because they haven't played well. I've said this I've said this on many things on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I don't think any of the big six teams, bar Spurs, basically, have really played particularly fantastic. I mean, Chelsea's now starting to gel, but they should never have drawn to West Brom, and they should, with the amount that they spent, they should have done much better at Old Trafford as well. A 0-0 is actually a win to you guys. I feel
Oh, look, definitely.
against that team, it's a win to you guys. And so the big six are going, this is great, right? Had Everton and Villa and stuff not lost those games, then they would be a bit more worried. But because they're starting to now take points of each other as we suspected, both of us suspected,
Yeah.
this is where it's going to play into the big six clubs. Because once the fixture schedule changes and it's not so compressed, these big clubs, that's where they really, are going to shine. So I feel if Southampton, to an extent Leicester, but they're sort of reasonably there because they have that premiership win. Villa, Southampton, Everton, for them to keep relevant, they just need to pocket as many wins as they can.
Oh,
As
yeah.
soon
Look,
as possible.
that's right. And we said that from the get-go,
Yep.
that these guys need to do it, and they're doing it at the moment. I think when we get halfway through the season, you're really going to see who's there.
Yeah.
I think anyone in the top six,
Yep.
as long as it's only one game, if there's only one game in it,
Yep.
in the top four, the top five,
Yep.
anyone can win it.
Yeah.
Anyone can win it. So that's look, it's absolutely fascinating. It's going to come down to the manager, and I tell you what, when you look at all the managers right there,
Yeah.
there's only two standouts, and that's Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp.
Well, they're the world class managers,
Yeah.
as you've said. They're the world class, and then there's this elite class that's coming through, which has got Brendan Rodgers, They put Arteka's in there. They put Belusa. They put a few of Ancelotti. They're the elite managers, but the world class ones are those two. They've got the world class
Yeah, that's right.
squads. It's very clear in my opinion. But this is where it's going to get interesting because I feel by December, near Christmas, right? There's going to be definitely less fixtures for at least four of the clubs because four will get knocked out of the Carabao Cup for sure.
Yeah.
So that already is going to make them play one less cup game. That's going to help those four teams who are out of that cup in particular because they don't have to play as many games.
That's right.
So I feel, as you're saying, by Christmas, this and that, if it's still close and some of those good teams are knocked out of the Carabao Cup and they're going to get a bit more rest, they'll probably start performing a bit better, But then
definitely.
Cup, which is going to be interesting because then it's going to be cups and then European football again, probably in January or February, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
So,
what a season.
Oh, look, absolutely, and that's what it's going to come back down to. And so you look at the big clubs, any of the big clubs that get through, and they will. All it takes is one or two big entries, and guess what? Not only may you not win any trophies this year, you may even not even see any European football next year.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree.
And that's the reality of it. I mean, don't forget, it's just. I know, and I've listened to a lot of people, and they're talking about, the transfer window in January, and it's just like, well, mate, no one's making money at the moment. Nobody, no one will make any money. So, whether there's some money comes for a team that they can actually go and spend on players.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's a good time between now and Christmas to have a look and just say, okay, if we need a defensive back or whatever.
Yeah.
We've got him. We can go, and if we need someone, we can go and get someone. They're not going to be exactly what we want, but we're going to need them there.
This is why I'm going to find it really interesting because I think for Arsenal, now seeing a couple of losses, they'll need that. They'll definitely be going in for some sort of creative midfielder for sure, just for that number 10 role. With Liverpool, we'll definitely see them getting a couple of defenders because they're going to be short too already because they're out for the season. So yeah, it's going to definitely do something. What it will do, I don't know exactly, but there will have to be now some activity. Whereas before, I was putting myself out on a limb going, this transfer market, it might, it should happen. And you were saying before, maybe it won't because of the money stuff. I think it will just depend on the injury situation as to where January is going to be. And already by the looks of it, if there's already injuries as well in Everton, they think they're actually going to do something this year, which they could. They might spend as well. So we've seen that even during these times like Villa, West Ham, they've spent a lot of money. I remember you went through this with a few, with the numbers that they've spent. They've still spent during COVID. So I'm just really, really intrigued to see what happens. But another comment this year that I thought you were very correct on was that when you said that Arsenal won, the Shield, it was a great start to the year because it might be the only trophy that we won, but we won a trophy.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be extremely important for any of the big six clubs. I think for us two in particular to win some sort of cabinetware.
Oh, yeah, look, absolutely. I just, look, personally, I see the way United are playing, they're not going to win jack shit this year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I can't see it. And I just think you need to have consistency out there week in, week out. And it comes back down to, having those substitutions come through and doing it right. And this is where the managers become so, proficient in what they do now, because they need to actually make sure that they're really changing over the right players to say, well, we're playing Stoke in the Carabao Cup, so you're going to rest for a week.
Yeah.
Because then the week after we've got Man City. You know what I mean? And then so all of a sudden, you've got to play it like that, but you've got to make sure. They've got to just make sure. I mean, if we draw against West Brom, or even if we lose against West Brom, We'll be back to the same thing the week after, talking about Solskjaer and his job, and it just happens all the time. Um, this is a thing. So his job was in trouble all of a sudden. And this is what I love. Manchester United, this is what I love, right? When they go into international football, there's always the talk of Paul Pogba. Always the talk, Paul Pogba. He goes international, Paul Pogba's going to leave, he's going there, yada, 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 yada. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all absolute bullshit.
I know.
And then he comes back, he may play one or two good games or whatever.
Yeah.
I think what Solskjaer's doing right with Pogba at the moment is actually bringing him on as a substitute.
Yes.
The bigger games, like when they did PSG and Leipzig, he was on the pitch to start with, perfect.
Yeah.
The lesser games, bring him on as a substitute.
Yeah.
Start off Fernandes, Mata, absolutely perfect. Donny van der Beek, he just needs to be started.
Yeah. It's the same with Arsenal. I think Pepe should be starting. They've spent a lot of money on him. Bring Willian off the bench. I mean, all these Chelsea fans are trolling me going, Willian, we never liked this guy, this and that. It's like, the thing is with us, it's like maybe he's old, but it's good to bring experience and wise heads to the squad. They got to teach the youngsters. But he hasn't played particularly great. So why not start the youngster, get a bit of fresh legs up, change it up so that there's some sort of creativity. I think this is the word of the week for Arsenal, is that our problem is creativity. We don't have it. And again, I will always say this, and I'll be very, very honest. When I'm very happy with Arsenal, I'll go, yeah, you've played a good game. But when the weaknesses come in, there's a reason why they consistently come there. And this is where, as much as I think Woodward has done a pathetic job in the way that he's recruited, getting Fernandes in January, there was the best move your club did. Absolutely the best move your club did. Because he knows how to score a penalty. He's creative enough. And he will win you games when the team is playing poor. And we don't have that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, just to also top that one off as well, and this is where, see, and I'm coming back to poor Pogba because he's doing my head in, this guy at the moment.
Yeah.
Because he goes and plays for France. There's so many wonderful players there. So he plays his natural flair. He has a great game along with everybody else. But what I find when he's playing at United, if Fernandes is having an off game, guess what? Then you see the true game of Pogba, which is actually shit.
Yeah.
Now, it'll be interesting come January. Do they drop his price? Are they going to move him on? Who knows? Personally, I wouldn't do anything like that.
No.
Right? Because, it's quite plain and simple. If they were to move Pogba on, I can guarantee they won't bring anybody else in.
Yeah.
The money will go into the club. The Glazers will take the money out and say, well, no, we're not getting any more players in.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, look, it's just fascinating.
That's the thing though. Like, I feel with Pogba, just like Mesut Ozil in particular, they go well when the club's going well, and when the club's not, they don't go well. They're a luxury comfort player, but when it's on song, it works well. I think he was pretty useful when you guys finished third.
Definitely.
And he's just, this year, it's hard. He might be one of these players that really needs a crowd in the game. Some personalities just need that spur on. He likes to show off in front of people. He's a natural showman. Can't be a showman when there's nobody there. You're really seeing the true colours of the players who are doing really, really well. What I love about Kane, and it makes me sick to say it because I don't like the Spurs at all, but that guy can do anything. He's having just absolutely phenomenal season. Vardy's having a fantastic season. These players just like being natural showmen without a crowd. Whereas I feel with Pogba, just having that presence at Old Trafford or with the French team, because some of the games in the internationals, there's crowds there. I think it really suits him having an audience,
Oh, look, of course it does. You can only, Well, if you go across and actually look at Instagram and places like that, poor Pogba's everywhere. He's always, doing what he does best.
Mm.
Um, but it's actually I think what's really interesting, and you touched on it. I mean, Harry Kane, Son Heung-min, and now with Gareth Bale in at Spurs, I think up front, I tell you what, even the counter attack with having those three guys. I mean, Son's just amazing. He's
But
he's dynamic.
that forward line is pretty much the best in the EPL at the moment.
Yeah,
In terms of the way that they're working, I don't see much better. I don't see a better three at the front at the moment. I would normally say Liverpool would have that and City would be second. But at this current stage, Spurs are just absolutely smashing it. And I love that Mourinho is doing well with them, given the fact that he always has a negative press about parking the bus. And they've just scored so many goals this season, and they've conceded a lot
yeah.
too.
Oh, look, absolutely, absolutely, and that's interesting. But and I come back to Chelsea. Looking at Chelsea, Ben Chilwell, Thiago Silva, Werner, Ziyech. These guys, they're all clicking together, and I just sit there and I look at them and just say, "Holy shit! Thank God we've already played them."
Yeah, absolutely. I'm scared to play them.
Yeah,
I'm scared to play them for sure. So no, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'll get you back next week. We'll do some tips on what's going to happen
yeah,
with this next round. But I agree. I think Chelsea are going to be very dangerous. Even though I don't think they've had a particularly great start, they're just starting to click. It's in the last
yeah.
couple of weeks they've started to click after that United draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're starting. I agree with you. They could be very, very dangerous. So we'll get you back next week. We'll get some tips
Done.
on it. And so good to have you on, Pete. I love the reflections. I think you're spot on. At the Net always is all over this stuff. And make sure you follow them. He has a great overview. It's great to speak United and great to speak Arsenal, City, Liverpool. Great to speak these big rival clubs because
Yeah.
it's the most interesting thing that's happened with these clubs for the last 10 to 15 years. The fact that it's so open, the way that things have happened. The only time that I've seen it a little bit more open like this was the 2016-17
Yep.
when Leicester won it. But even then, all of the big six clubs were like second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. It was just
Yeah.
Leicester up there. So it'll be great to, get our tips, see how poorly we got. I'm just going to say it. It's just, I can't tip this year. I can't tip anything because it's just so
No.
random at the moment. So we'll leave it there. Lovely to have you on. Remember,
Thank you very much.
subscribe to At The Net. Subscribe to A Breath of Fresh Footy. We'll keep you posted with our thoughts and opinions. And we'll see you all very, very soon.
Cheers, guys.